Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 9 Part 40 based on novel. So let's start. Lin Dong's hand took on the shape of a claw as a suction force suddenly erupted from within his palm. The thunderbolt core that had just surfaced from within the stone cave immediately whistled out. After which, it was grabbed by him. The fourth one. Lin Dong grabbed the thunderbolt core and felt the surging pure lightning energy within it as excitement involuntarily flashed across his eyes. In less than 10 minutes, he had already obtained the fourth thunderbolt core. Such a haul was already very bountiful. After keeping this thunderbolt core, Lin Dong glanced towards Mu Lingshan in front of him. At this moment, the latter was darting all over the place in an excited manner as she searched for thunderbolt cores. Wild and violent yuan power fluctuations continued to ripple over from even further away, and it was possible to faintly hear the sounds of battle. Although there were quite a number of silver corpses within this lightning gorge, not all of them could turn into a thunderbolt core. Hence, the number of thunderbolt cores was far from being able to satisfy the endless greed within everyone's heart. No one would think that there were too many of such treasures. Additionally, the news about this place had clearly continued to spread. Hence, Lin Dong was able to occasionally see some unfamiliar experts charging into the lightning lake with heated eyes. After which, they directly rushed towards his current location. It was likely that many experts had already heard of the news and hence hurried over to snatch the thunderbolt cores. With an increasing demand and decreasing supply, a bloody battle was naturally unavoidable. Fortunately, these people had heard about the Lin Dong duo and were aware of just how troublesome it was to deal with them. Hence, no one came to disturb them for the moment. However, Lin Dong was aware that this was only temporarily. Once the number of thunderbolt cores available diminished, the reasoning of those experts would gradually be weakened by their greed. Sooner or later, an intense and chaotic battle would erupt in this place. The corners of Lin Dong's mouth curled as a stern expression flashed across his eyes. He was happy if these people did not provoke him. However, if they were to have designs on the thunderbolt cores in his hand, he could only allow them to know what was known as suffering a loss without making any gains. Lin Dong withdrew his eyes as he thought of this. His body moved and gradually rushed towards the deeper parts of the lightning gorge. The thunderbolt cores in the outer regions had basically been completely cleaned out. Pang Hao's expression was cold and indifferent as he stared at the Lin Dong duo from behind while they were hurrying into the deeper parts of the lightning gorge. A stern expression suddenly flashed across his eyes. The both of them seemed to have collected a total of 10 thunderbolt cores. This is not any less than us. A man beside Pang Hao parted his mouth and laughed. He was one of the three who had exchanged blows with Mu Lingshan back at the Stone City, and was also one of the so-called 4 demon generals of the 9 Serene Gate. He was quite strong. It doesn't matter. Allow them to slowly collect the thunderbolt cores. Pang Hao laughed faintly. However, that smile of his was exceptionally ruthless. Once they have collected a sufficient number, I will make them hand everything over. Although the strength of the Lin Dong duo was a little different from what he had expected, this did not cause him to feel any fear towards them. These lone wolves actually dared to compete over these treasures with their 9 Serene Gate. Fools that really did not know their limits. Try to collect as many thunderbolt cores as possible. Kill anyone who dares vie with us. Pang Hao turned his head and instructed. Those experts from the 9 Serene Gate revealed a fierce glint in their eyes upon hearing this. After which, savage laughter sounded as they charged towards the places where lightning glows had risen from. Lin Dong was not aware of the 9 Serene Gate schemes. Currently, he was gradually venturing deeper into the lightning gorge. During the subsequent 10 minutes, he managed to collect another 2 thunderbolt cores. However, Lin Dong frowned and gradually discovered a problem as he continued to venture deeper. It seemed that the Yimo aura contained within the bodies of these silver corpses in the stone cave was becoming increasingly thick the deeper he went. Clearly, the erosion suffered by these experts when they were alive was a little more serious compared to those from earlier. Such a cave sect would have likely dominated for a period of time within their era. Given these numbers, it seemed that they was not any weaker than a super sect. It was unexpected that they had still ended up with such a fate after being attacked by the Yimo. Hehe, brother Lindong, I have 6 thunderbolt cores. While Lindong was frowning over this discovery, Mu Lingshan moved closer to him. At this moment, there were 2 thunderbolt cores floating in her little hands. Looks like she also had a bountiful harvest this trip. Lindong smiled after hearing this. He was just about to speak when his expression suddenly sunk. He slowly lifted his head and saw that 5 figures had appeared around him at some unknown time. At this moment, their eyes were greedily staring at the 2 thunderbolt cores in Mu Lingshan's hands. Looks like trouble had ultimately come looking for them. There are still many thunderbolt cores in other places. I advise all of you to obediently go and collect them. Do not end up losing your lives because of a moment of recklessness. Lindong stared at this 5-men group and spoke in a faint voice. Lindong could sense that these 5 individuals were all quite powerful. 4 of them were at the peak of the advanced profound life stage, and the bald leader had already reached the perfect profound life stage. Such strength was already considered rather good. Heh, what arrogant words! A cold glint flashed across the eyes of the bald man after hearing Lindong's words. He looked at Mu Lingshan beside Lindong. He had also clearly heard of the former. Usually, he would not wish to offend this little fiend. However, under the temptation of the thunderbolt cause, it was clear that the reasoning of many had diminished. What is there to be arrogant about? Regardless of how strong you are, there are only 2 of you. Do you think that the 5 of us are afraid of you? We will not go overboard. We will leave as long as you hand over half of the thunderbolt cores in your hands. What do you say? One of them laughed coldly. Split half with you. A grin surfaced from the corners of Lindong's mouth. After which, he softly inquired, I wonder how many thunderbolt cores do the 5 of you have? Brat, don't tell me that you are actually planning to target us. An ominous look flashed across the bald-headed man's face. Immediately, he comprehended the meaning contained within Lindong's words. Correct. The smile on Lindong's face widened. In the next moment, it suddenly became ice cold. At the same time, his body shot out like an arrow. Lingshan, attack! A soft shout echoed. Mu Lingshan flipped her small hand and kept the 2 thunderbolt cores into her Qiankun bag. After which, the life-death coffin cover once again appeared with a flash. A cold snort sounded and she swiftly charged forward. These people actually dared to target her. How could she let them off so easily? Lindong's target was the bald man who had reached the perfect profound life stage. 10 green dragon light tattoos swam around his body. An extremely powerful ripple spread as he lifted his hand. Lindong was extremely quick. In a flash, he had appeared in front of that bald man. After which, he directly threw a punch. 10 green dragon light tattoos galloped and surged in front of him as a faint dragon roar sounded. Humph! That bald man's body flickered with faint black light when he saw this. His body seemed to turn into metal at this moment. From the looks of it, it was obvious that he was a troublesome foe who had trained his physical body. Bang! The fists of both parties collided ferociously as shocking energy ripples immediately swept apart. The lightning liquid around them suddenly exploded. Lindong's body trembled slightly. Devouring power surged from within his body and directly swallowed the force which had invaded his body. On the other hand, the bald man was forced back by a couple of steps. Good brat, you do indeed have some skill. That bald man finally became serious after seeing that he had actually lost out in a head-on clash. From the earlier punch, he understood that the strength of Lindong's physical body did not lose to his own. Lindong clenched his hand. His mouth parted as he smiled at the bald man. Green light surged and once again pounced forward. He did not give the latter any time to catch his breath. While Lindong and the bald man were engaged in an intense fight, Mu Lingshan had also caught up with the 4 peak-level advanced profound life stage experts. The life-death coffin cover in her hands was lifted and the expressions of those 4 immediately became extremely ugly. This was because they had discovered that despite outnumbering her, they were clearly unable to block this seemingly delicate and small green-clothed girl. Only at this moment did they begin to cry out bitterly within their hearts. It seemed that this Mu Lingshan did indeed possess quite a great ability that allowed her to dominate on the island. However, it was clearly a little too late for regrets at this moment. Excitement leaped within Mu Lingshan's large eyes. The 4 individuals before her seemed to have become thunderbolt cores which had been delivered to her like fattened sheep. There would really be no justice if she missed this chance. Bang bang! An intense battle erupted deep within the lightning gorge. This battle did not last for a long. Mu Lingshan used the fastest speed to defeat those 4 peak-level advanced profound life stage experts. After which, she unceremoniously snatched the 4 thunderbolt cores in their possession. The bald man had also become extremely miserable as he fought Lin Dong. All of his attacks landed on Lin Dong's body, but the latter did not even budge. However, Lin Dong's attacks caused him to feel a heart-wrenching pain each time they landed on his body. The strength of their bodies were clearly not on the same level. You guys are good. Let's go. Yet another head-on collision occurred and the bald man's body shot back miserably as sweetness rose from his throat. His eyes were grim as he gazed at the grinning Lin Dong rubbing his fist. After which, he glanced at the 4 injured individuals. He clenched his teeth and decisively pulled back. The 4 individuals could only swiftly pull back while scowling miserably after seeing the bald man retreat. Lin Dong smilingly watched this scene, but he did not give chase. There was no time for him to do so at this moment. However, Lin Dong's pupils suddenly shrunk as he watched the 5 individuals who were about to flee. He suddenly lowered his head and saw that over a dozen black lights had swept out like ghosts from deeper parts of the lightning gorge below. After which, they ruthlessly struck the 5 figures. The faces of those 4 peak-level advanced profound life stage experts paled almost immediately. After which, they slowly lowered their heads. A shriveled hand had pierced their hearts. The owner of that shriveled hand was completely silver in color. Black light danced within the eyes of the silver corpses. That perfect profound life stage expert was a little stronger. Although he ended up being forced to spit out a mouthful of fresh blood, he had still managed to retain his life. After which, he lifted his head in shock and looked at those silver corpses that had suddenly attacked them. There was terror in his eyes. Lingshan, let's leave. Lin Dong observed this scene as his pupils shrunk tightly. After which, he grabbed Mu Lingshan and directly rushed in the other direction while ignoring that unfortunate fellow. This was because at this moment, Lin Dong had clearly seen many densely packed silver corpses suddenly rush out from the depths of the lightning gorge. Some unexpected changes seemed to have occurred in this place. 2 light figures quickly rushed past in the lightning lake with great speed. Lightning liquid rippled behind them and one could vaguely see many silver figures rushing forward in a swift ghost-like fashion. Big brother Lin Dong, what are those things? Mu Lingshan also discovered the unusual change at this moment. Her small face was a little surprised as she looked behind her and asked. The Yimo energy within those silver corpses is too strong. The lightning energy in this lightning lake does not seem to be capable of suppressing it. Lin Dong pursed his lips. His expression was somewhat grave. The further one ventured into the lightning gorge, the stronger the Yimo energy in those silver corpses was. The difficulty of suppressing and eliminating it would also rise greatly. However, Lin Dong could vaguely sense that this current unexpected change was perhaps related to their entry. The lightning energy and the Yimo energy had previously clearly formed a kind of stable equilibrium. Their arrival have likely damaged this equilibrium, resulting in the Yimo energy gaining the upper hand and allowing it to once again turn these statue-like silver corpses into slaughtering demons. In that case, does this not mean that we can no longer collect thunderbolt cores? Mu Lingshan held the life-death coffin cover in her hand and asked. The number of silver corpses seemed to have far exceeded those they had encountered earlier. If they were to be entangled by them, it would likely become quite troublesome. At this moment, there was no need to even mention collecting thunderbolt cores. Let's observe first before deciding. Lin Dong replied in a deep voice. Now that such an event had occurred, it was likely that no expert present would be able to escape. These silver corpses might be strong, but the various experts present were not ordinary individuals either. Lin Dong did not say anything more after his voice sounded. His body moved and his speed increased while Mu Lingshan followed closely behind him. The change in the depths of the lightning gorge began to spread rapidly. After all, Lin Dong's group was not the only one that had ventured into the deeper parts to search for the thunderbolt cores. Some of the stronger experts had already ventured deep inside, hence, this change naturally also affected them. In the beginning, some experts were caught off guard. They were unable to even recover their wits as these silver corpses charged at them. Within a short period of time, many people were killed by these silver corpses. Even though some lucky Yuan spirits managed to escape, they were forced to death's door due to the lightning energy contained within the lightning lake. In the end, they gradually vanished into nothingness. Blood and chaos quickly spread in the lightning gorge together with an atmosphere of panic and terror. Numerous experts withdrew from the lightning gorge. After which, they wore shocked expressions as they watched the silver corpses continuously charge out from within the lightning gorge. What happened? Have all these silver corpses actually been refined into puppets? Many experts looked at the silver corpses that had charged out as numerous puzzled whispers swiftly spread. Everyone, there is no need to be afraid. These silver corpses might be quite strong, but they do not possess any intelligence. It is not difficult to deal with them. The only problem is their somewhat large numbers. As long as we defeat them, we will be able to head to the deeper parts of the lightning gorge to search for thunderbolt cores. The thunderbolt cores formed below will surely be of better quality. Some cries spread in the lightning lake while everyone were feeling shocked. Clearly, there were still people who did not intend to abandon the greed in their hearts even when faced with such a situation. Such a cry did indeed have quite a big impact at this moment. This was because an increasing number of experts had hurried over to the lightning lake after hearing the rumors. Many of those who had come later had yet to collect the thunderbolt cores. These people were far too unwilling to give up now. Hence, rich murderous intent immediately flashed within the eyes of some after they heard such this cry. Lin Dong observed the many experts who had become somewhat restless with cold eyes from the side. Those words from earlier were indeed true. This lightning gorge was clearly such that the silver corpses were stronger the deeper one went. At the same time, the erosion of the Yimo energy they suffered was quite serious. If it was possible to remove the Yimo energy, the quality of the thunderbolt cores they transformed into would be even better. Of course, the precondition was that they must first finish off these violent silver corpses. Roar? The silver corpses which had charged out from the lightning gorge emitted beast-like roars while these thoughts were present in Lin Dong's mind. An evil black aura lingered deep within the eyes of these silver corpses. Without further ado, silver flashed. After which, they rushed towards this direction like floodwaters. Charge! After being caught off guard earlier, the various experts regained their wits at this moment. Additionally, greed surged within their hearts. In an instant, most of the fear within their hearts had disappeared and an explosive cry sounded. Countless formidable martial arts attacks were unleashed at the same time. After which, they smashed towards the silver torrent from all directions. Bang bang! The head-on clash between the two parties immediately led to a loud sound spreading in a deafening manner. That frightening force directly formed a 10,000 feet large vacuum on the bottom of the lightning lake, and even the lightning liquid flew outwards. The combination of such a large number of experts naturally led to an extremely overwhelming power. Immediately, the silver torrent was forcefully contained. Dozens of silver corpses at the front were directly smashed into dust. Damn it, be a little softer with your attacks. The thunderbolt cores will disappear if the silver corpses are destroyed. Some of the experts immediately cried out furiously while feeling a great heartache after seeing the silver corpses turning into dust. The silver corpses at the bottom of the lake might have been eroded like those shriveled corpses Lin Dong's group had encountered earlier, and there was a slight difference between them. Those shriveled corpses from earlier had retained some power from when they were alive within their bodies. An example was those 18 shriveled corpses. Their bodies contained death chi from their cultivation when they were alive. This death chi had even agglomerated into the death solidarity pill. However, these silver corpses did not possess any power from when they were alive. However, their bodies had already been filled with lightning energy after soaking at the bottom of this lightning lake for thousands of years. Therefore, it was impossible for them to form the death solidarity pill after the Yimo energy was removed. However, their entire body would turn into a thunderbolt core containing a pure lightning energy. Fools! Lin Dong involuntarily shook his head upon hearing those roars. Did these fellows really believe that these silver corpses were soft persimmons that they could squash as they wished? They were actually thinking of holding back at such a moment. Roar? Many low roars were emitted from the silver corpses below soon after the heartache cries from those experts sounded. It was as though they were verifying Lin Dong's thoughts. Immediately, a silver light suddenly appeared. It directly broke through the attacks of the numerous martial arts. Charge! As long as we expel the strange energy within their bodies, they will turn into thunderbolt cores. Many experts looked at the silver corpses charging towards them as a red glow and murderous intent flashed within their eyes. After which, majestic Yuan power erupted and received the corpses. Boom! Two torrents accompanied by a shocking momentum clashed at the bottom of the lightning lake. The activity shook the lightning lake until it seemed as if it had been turned upside down. The fight was exceptionally miserable as both parties clashed. One party was without life while the other had red eyes because of the thunderbolt cores. This battle was quite vicious. We should also attack. Be careful. Lin Dong watched this miserable and chaotic battlefield. A glint flashed within his eyes as he spoke to Mu Lingshan. The battle was clearly at a stalemate. Coincidentally, they could take the opportunity to reap some benefits amidst the chaos and grab a couple more thunderbolt cores. Understood. Mu Lingshan nodded excitedly. The scene in front of her had already caused her hands to itch slightly. However, she did not dare to randomly charge forward before Lin Dong gave the order. The both of them practically charged forward at the same time. They did not charge towards the area with the most number of silver corpses. Instead, they swam at the outer areas of the battleground and stealthily finished off those silver corpses that had escaped one after another. The bottom of the lightning lake had clearly become extremely chaotic at this moment. Incomparably violent energy fluctuations caused shockingly huge waves to rise on the surface of the lightning lake. This caused the experts who had continued to hurry over to feel a little frightened. However, when they thought of the thunderbolt cores, they immediately suppressed the fear within their hearts. After which, splashing sounds were heard as many figures continued to charge into the lightning lake. Bang! Lin Dong's palm landed on a silver corpse at lightning speed. After which, a warm white light quietly entered the body of the silver corpse. The black light flickering in the latter's eyes quickly vanished. Lin Dong, who possessed the Ancestor Stone, did not have much of difficulty eliminating the Yimo energy. After the removal of the Yimo energy within the body of the silver corpse, the latter began to tremble. Lightning glow flashed. However, this lightning glow was about to agglomerate when many cracks appeared on the surface of its body. Lin Dong shook his head helplessly upon seeing this and casually tossed the silver corpse aside. The lightning energy within this silver corpse had already been scattered earlier. Hence, it had ended up failing to agglomerate into a thunderbolt core. Hehe, brother Lin Dong, you seem to be extremely unlucky. Mu Lingshan laughingly lifted her small hand a short distance away. The silver corpse she had just destroyed had successfully formed a thunderbolt core. She had once again obtained 4 thunderbolt cores during this period of time. Although Lin Dong was much faster than Mu Lingshan in dealing with the Yimo energy, he had only obtained 2 thunderbolt cores. Lin Dong tossed aside the silver corpse. After which, he once again rushed forward and laughed loudly. In that case, let us compete and see who is able to obtain more thunderbolt cores. Mu Lingshan laughed upon hearing this. Her body rushed towards another silver corpse near her. Following the flow of time, the battle at the bottom of the lightning lake also became increasingly intense. However, with an increasing number of experts hurrying over, these silver corpses finally began to show signs of being defeated. However, no one knew that blood was continuously gathering towards the depths of the lightning gorge following the increasing intensity of the battle. The bloody aura finally surged into a cave at the bottom of the lake where a 12 feet tall silver figure was quietly seated. Black demonic symbols covered his body. At this moment, those demonic symbols were like giant mouths greedily devouring the bloody aura. After this devouring reached a certain point, the human figure covered in black demonic symbols finally opened his eyes, which had been shut for thousands of years. Black flames filled his eyes, giving him a chillingly evil appearance. An astonishing energy wave unfurled from the bottom of the lake with shocking momentum. Countless human figures and silver light seemed to interweave together. Each time they clashed, a low and deep sound would be emitted. Occasionally, someone would be sent flying backwards while vomiting blood. Most of the time, however, it was the silver figures that gradually crumbled one by one. The silver corpses finally began to show signs of being defeated in the face of the treasure seekers that endlessly streamed in to join the battle at the bottom of the lake. It seemed that there was finally a conclusion to this sudden outbreak of silver corpses. Lin Dong's body was just like a ghost as he approached a silver corpse. His hand was as quick as lightning as it imprinted onto its chest. White light flashed at his fingertips and swiftly burrowed into the body of the silver corpse. After the invasion of the white light, the silver corpse immediately stiffened while the black aura leaping within its eyes also began to diminish bit by bit. At the same time, a lightning glow began to gather on its body. Fortunately, it did not show any signs of crumbling this time. Lucky. Lin Dong smiled slightly upon seeing this. Lightning flashed. After which, it swiftly gathered. In a short span of time, a thunderbolt core was successfully formed in front of the many greedy eyes around him. Lin Dong made a grabbing motion with his hand when the thunderbolt core was successfully formed. After which, he swiftly kept it into his Qianquan bag. Brother Lin Dong, how many thunderbolt cores have you collected? Mu Lingshan hurried over at this moment and smilingly asked. 8. Adding those that I obtained earlier, it is a total of 17 thunderbolt cores. Lin Dong laughed. I have 20. Mu Lingshan was extremely pleased with herself as her two pigtails seemed to bounce on her head. Together with her exquisite porcelain doll-like face, she appeared extremely cute. Lin Dong could not resist stroking Mu Lingshan's small head. 20 thunderbolt cores was indeed quite a shocking number. After all, there were far too many experts at the bottom of the lake at this moment. Many of them did not even have a single thunderbolt core in their hands. Be careful of those people from the 9 Serene Gate. They have been staring at us since the beginning. Lin Dong softly said. His eyes glanced towards a certain direction as he spoke where experts from the 9 Serene Gate had gathered together. Their leader was Pang Hao. The latter also seemed to have detected Lin Dong's gaze at this moment. He turned his head and met Lin Dong's gaze. After which, he smiled. The smile was filled with playfulness. Hateful fellows who just don't disappear. Mu Lingshan clenched her teeth as her small hands involuntarily grasped the life-death coffin cover tighter. If it was not because she was aware of just how powerful and large in numbers the group was, it was likely that she would have been unable to resist slamming the life-death coffin cover at them. Lin Dong smiled. However, that smile of his was exceptionally frosty. There were indeed many experts from the 9 Serene Gate. However, if Pang Hao thought that Lin Dong was a soft persimmon that he could squash, he would be making a huge mistake. As time flowed, the chaotic fighting at the bottom of the lightning lake gradually came to an end. Those few remaining silver corpses were swiftly destroyed under the combined attacks from many experts. After the final silver corpse vanished, the area gradually descended into a temporary silence. Fresh blood spread within the lightning liquid, causing the silver lightning liquid to turn a little red. There were also many experts who had lost their lives in the earlier fight. Some of this was caused by the attacks of the silver corpses, however, many were also a result of a cold dagger in their backs. All the experts who had come to this place were extremely ruthless individuals. If there was an opportunity, they would naturally not hesitate to eliminate other competitors. Many experts slowly panted after the fighting came to a halt. The surging yuan power around them was quite chaotic. Some of the experts had excited faces because of their gains. However, their eyes were extremely cautious as they watched the surrounding experts. Clearly, they were worried that someone would suddenly attack and snatch the thunderbolt cores they had staked their lives to obtain. For a time, the atmosphere at the bottom of the lightning lake, which had just seen an end to a bitter battle, had become tense and strange. The experts who were battling side by side earlier began to quietly back away from each other while caution climbed into their eyes. Pang Hao from the 9 Serene Gate suddenly laughed softly amidst this tense atmosphere. He drew the many gazes present towards him. Pang Hao ignored those gazes. His playful eyes had already landed on Lin Dong. The latter's eyes were currently staring back at him in an ice-cold fashion. It seemed that he wished to see just what game the former intended to play. Brother Lin Dong likely has quite a haul, right? I believe that there should be nearly 30 thunderbolt cores in your hands. Pang Hao's face was full of smiles as he spoke in a friendly manner. These words of his immediately stirred a commotion at the lake bottom. The eyes of some of the experts had immediately become a lot redder. They were only able to obtain 2 to 3 thunderbolt cores after fighting with all their might. Yet, Lin Dong was actually in possession of at least a shocking amount of 30. Many gazes that were tinged with red stealthily shifted. With a whoosh, they paused on the Lin Dong duo. From a distance away, Liu Xiangshuan and the members of the mysterious Sky Hall also watched this scene. She was naturally able to tell that Pang Hao was intentionally targeting Lin Dong. However, she did not say anything. She did not have any relation with Lin Dong, hence it was naturally impossible that she would intervene. That little fellow is rather unlucky. Although they are both rather powerful, they are ultimately not a large faction like us. It is difficult for them to deter the other experts. Currently, he is in possession of nearly 30 thunderbolt cores. It will be difficult for them to not attract the attention of others. A faint voice was emitted from behind Liu Xiangshuan. It was from a seemingly inconsequential skinny middle-aged man. Does Teacher Uncle Dao think that we should intervene? Liu Xiangshuan merely nodded slightly and smiled after hearing the words spoken by this middle-aged man. Let's sit back and watch. We have also obtained many thunderbolt cores. There is no need to be overly anxious. Moreover, that lad is no ordinary person. It will not be easy for Pang Hao to force him into a desperate state. The middle-aged man softly replied. Yes. Liu Xiangshuan nodded her head gently. Her pretty eyes looked towards Lin Dong with some curiosity. She could be considered to have exchanged blows with Lin Dong earlier. The latter was indeed quite strong. However, could he really remain this calm when faced with this den of wolves? This person. Lin Dong's expression darkened slightly after seeing the many greedy eyes look over. This Pang Hao was quite vicious. These few words had placed Lin Dong in a position where many was against him. The 30 thunderbolt cores were sufficient to cause the hearts of many to be ready to cause trouble. Bastard! Mu Lingshan's small face had turned completely red because of anger. She lifted her sleeve and was prepared to swing the coffin cover at someone. However, she was stopped by Lin Dong's extended hand. It is likely that you people from the 9 Serene Gate also possess dozens of thunderbolt cores, right? Lin Dong looked at Pang Hao and suddenly grinned. Pang Hao lifted his brow and gave a non-committal shrug. So what if they had so many thunderbolt cores in their hands? With their great strength and numbers, would there be any experts who would dare target them? Since Brother Pang Hao has paid such close attention to the thunderbolt cores in my hands, why don't the both of us engage in a bet? Both of us will fight one-on-one. If I lose, I will distribute all the thunderbolt cores in my hands to everyone present. If you lose, you will hand over all your thunderbolt cores. I will take half while the remaining half will be distributed to all the friends here. What do you say? Lin Dong smilingly asked. The commotion around swelled almost instantly after Lin Dong's words sounded. Many were a little stunned. Soon after, surprise rose within their eyes as their gazes began to shoot towards the nearby Pang Hao. Ha ha, truly bold. He actually dares to challenge Pang Hao. Staking 30 thunderbolt cores. How bold. I wonder if Pang Hao dares to accept. Pang Hao's expression had become a little ugly due to the many gazes that had turned towards him and the deliberately loud noises created by the crowd. He did not expect that Lin Dong would be so vicious and directly dragged him into the matter. Moreover, the stakes of the bet he proposed was shocking. What a cunning fellow, the middle-aged man behind Liu Xiangshuan laughed softly. Liu Xiangshuan nodded gently. In this way, Lin Dong had directly dragged Pang Hao into the most eye-catching position. This person was really sufficiently ruthless. He knew that he might end up being attacked by some greedy individuals if this continued. Immediately, he unhesitatingly dragged Pang Hao down with him. You wish to challenge me? The smile on Pang Hao's face disappeared bit by bit as a dark and solemn fury replaced it. He did not expect that Lin Dong would be even more cunning than himself. A simple sentence and he had been implicated too. If he was to shrink back at this moment, it was likely that his name as the leader of the 4 demon generals from the 9 Serene Gate would become a joke. Murderous intent surged out from Pang Hao's eyes. Soon after, he clenched his hand as a sinister 10-feet-long black long whip appeared in his hand. Waves of shocking aura suddenly spread along with a dark and cold voice. Lin Dong, I'm afraid that you have chosen the wrong target to act tough against this time around. This video will end here.